Hey, it's Abdullah and this is my T20 review. Let me start this review by saying that I really like the T20 and I'm quite happy with it, considering that it's a budget-friendly tablet. However, there are definitely some compromises that needed to be made in order to achieve that sub to $50 price range. So instead of doing the traditional video review format, I'll mention 10 points about the T20. 4 of them are weaknesses and 6 points are what I really like about this tablet. And we'll start with the weaknesses. So the device is running on stock Android, and that isn't a negative in itself, but the lack of display customization options definitely is. So outside of the display brightness and a white balance slider, you can't control the colors, the contrast, or any other aspects of this display. Point number 2 is the position of the 3.5mm headphone jack. In landscape mode, the 3.5mm headphone jack is located on the bottom right edge of the display, which means that if you're holding it normally, your hand is going to get in the way of this port. So yeah, a strange decision to include it in that particular spot. Point number 3 is, at the time of recording this video, there is no Widevine L1 support, which means that you can't play HD content from Netflix. But what you need to know is that my unit is running on a pre-release software, so I'm hoping that it actually gets included in the future. If it eventually does get it, I'm gonna pin a comment in the comment section below so you guys are aware. As for YouTube, you'll still be able to enjoy content at up to 1080p at 60 frames per second. And the final point isn't really a weakness with the T20, but it is an issue with Android on tablets. Sadly, there's still a good number of applications that just aren't optimized for tablet usage. And apps such as Instagram and even Google's own YouTube Studio still display content as if you're actually using a very large phone. And they both don't even have a landscape mode, which is really a shame. Here's hoping that now that the tablet market is finally starting to come back to life, more app developers will start optimizing their apps to work better on tablets. Okay, now I think I've covered all the weaknesses that you should definitely be aware of. So I can finally get to the good part where I can endlessly flirt with this magnificent budget-friendly tablet. Joking aside, here are 6 points that I really like about the T20. And number 1 is the design and the build quality. Just like the rest of their lineup, the T20 is very nicely built and looks good too for its price, which is something I really appreciate. That ocean blue color looks really good and makes it stand out. And the sandblasted aluminum body feels nice and solid in the hand. Although the drawback of having both of these two things at once is that the device gathers a lot of fingerprints. Number 2 is the battery life. So Nokia Mobile fitted a massive 8200 mAh battery capacity into the T20. And you'll get about 10 hours of screen on time consistently, which means that it will last you a full day of usage easily without any issues. And it's definitely one of the key selling points of owning the T20. Number 3 is the display overall. It's definitely not going to blow you away with how smooth it is or its impressive contrast ratio. However, when you take the price into consideration, the sharpness is perfectly adequate and the viewing experience is perfectly satisfactory. You can even use it outdoors, no issues. However, I wouldn't recommend watching content on this as the contrast levels definitely struggle under direct sunlight. Oh, and by the way, you can even use this display with gloves, which is really cool. Number 4 is speakers clarity. So the T20 has a dual speaker setup, one on each side, and even at maximum volume, the clarity still remains really good. I wouldn't classify them as very loud, but their loudness is acceptable and their clarity and audio separation is really good. Number 5 is the front camera position. For some reason, a lot of budget tablets get the position of the front camera wrong, and luckily the T20 gets it exactly in the right spot. So the camera is centered in landscape mode, which I think is the right way to go. It's just much better for video calls, which is something the T20 does well. And the final point, which is number 6, is value for money. Aluminum build, 2K display, good day-to-day performance, decent dual speaker setup, excellent battery life, and 2 years of updates and 3 years of security updates. When you take all of these things into consideration, you can understand why I'm really happy with the T20 and would easily recommend it. Assuming, of course, that you understand its limitations, as this is a media consumption / work tablet and not for content creation or for people who heavily depend on a stylus. By now, I have hopefully answered all of your questions. If you still have a question, feel free to ask it in the comment section down below. And check out my impressions video, which covers a lot of the things that I haven't mentioned here. That's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give this video a like to support the channel and subscribe if you're enjoying my content. And I shall see you in the next one.